Well, as is sometimes the case with libertarians, they're occasionally right about something. I still don't agree with much of their worldview, but occasionally libertarians are actually right about certain things. One of these things is Senator Rand Paul on the issue of tariffs. He actually, the thing about these libertarians is on the issues of trade, they don't recognize the need for regulation that exists. They don't recognize the limits to which trade solves problems, but they do tend to understand that blanket tariffs that restrict trade generally aren't good for economies long term unless they're very surgical and calculated. And that is, of course, not what the Donald Trump tariffs are. Here is Rand Paul saying he sees what's going on. There's no logic behind it. And he simply can't support it, even if it's a Republican doing it.
I want to cut spending. I want to balance the budget. I support so many things, but I can't support a fallacy that is going to make us lose our wealth. I have a retirement account, too. I want my retirement account to stay there, and I think tariffs is going to decimate it.
He's correct. He's correct. The only other option is that the tariffs are rolled back. But Rand Paul is right that there's no economic justification for what's being done here. He goes in specifically on some of the numbers and the calculations, and most of what he says here is true. This is not ideological. Just check the facts. Fact check what Rand Paul is saying.
We have to start from talking about the truth. One of the things they say with Canada is, there's a 270% tariff on dairy products going from the U.S. into Canada. Well, you know what the real tariff is? 0. That's a big difference between what the truth is. So there's a certain amount of goods, dairy goods, that go to Canada every year, and they go at 0%. If we exceed a certain amount, there's this ridiculous 270% tariff, but we've never encountered it. And the USMC renegotiated it and raised the level that's under 0. Trump should be congratulated for USMC raising the amount of dairy that goes in at 0. But we have to have an honest debate. We can't go around saying that there's a 270% tariff when that's not really the truth.
One of the things I love about Rand Paul talking about this is that he's reminding us of another sort of wrinkle in this entire tariff fiasco, which is that companies that did what USMCA, Trump's trade deal in term number 1, companies that did what that trade deal was meant to encourage them to do, now will be punished for that by the tariffs. And Rand Paul is completely correct that the 270% dairy tariff only applies above a certain level, a level that we have not hit. Therefore, why would we use that in calculating what the tariff should be? It doesn't make any sense. Finally, Rand Paul says that he is hearing from Republicans who quietly tell him this is a disaster.
You are maybe getting some support and some praise from Democrats, but the support and praise from Republicans, you're saying that you're getting it, but these are individuals that you don't even want to be on the record for saying that. Is that fair to say?
It's a quiet whisper, and people come up to me in the hall. You know how in Atlas Shrugged, they would come up and say, "Who is John Galt?" They whisper in my ear, "Free trade is good. Keep going, keep going." But they don't want to say it because of the politics of it. And look, when I put free trade articles on my Twitter account, I get mobbed. I mean, I get what they call ratioed. I get more comments than likes, which they say isn't good. But we have to have this debate. And people have to understand that trade is between individuals, not countries, and it's a false accounting. So I'm committed to this. I'll keep talking about it. And there's one graph, if you look at it, and it has trade. Trade for the last 70 years went up exponentially, international trade, but so did GDP per capita. We get wealthy with trade, not without trade. It's such a fundamental debate that it's worth having.
I believe him, and I'll tell you why I believe him, because everybody's telling us this. When we interview Democratic members of the House, Democratic members of the Senate, they all tell me the exact same thing. Privately, I'm hearing from Republicans who say this is not good. This is a disaster. I'm worried about this financially. I'm worried about this with regard to what it's going to do to my constituents. I think this is bad. But most of them aren't willing to say it publicly. And Rand Paul is saying the exact same thing. If we're hearing from both Democrats and Republicans that Republicans quietly oppose this, but they don't have the testicular or ovarian fortitude to say it publicly, we might call them cowards. Not exactly a profile in courage. And of course, the balance is going to start to shift as Donald Trump gets to the end of his presidency and the end of his political career. Maybe more of them will be willing to speak out. I wish they would now, because it seems as though it's everybody but Trump that realizes this is a disaster. After researching, writing, refining, The Echo Machine, my book, is finally out. This is not just a book about how American politics got so broken. It's also about what's happening right now and what we can still do to stop things from getting worse. Trump's been back in power. The results have been even more catastrophic than many feared, with targeting of political opponents and gutting democratic institutions, laying the groundwork to even further consolidate power. But the thing is that none of this is inevitable. The same forces that brought us here can be countered if we understand how they work and what to do about them. And that's what The Echo Machine is all about. Some say that without corporate media backing, books like this can't succeed. I think we can prove them wrong. You can get The Echo Machine right now at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, or by calling any local bookstore and asking them to order it. This book is more important than ever. If you care about what happens next, and I do, check out The Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo.